Today we, as a parish community of St. John's Church, are celebrating the Nativity of John the Baptizer, the patron of our parish and of this church. John the Baptizer was the greatest among the prophets. When we scroll through the pages of the Old Testament, we find out different stories of barren women who received the gift of maternity and gave birth to the judges, to the prophets, who were bringing and fulfilling the will of the Lord among His people. And of course, it's a great gift and it's a great sign about John the Baptizer, a relative of Jesus, the Messiah, who was born out of Mary, that the same Gabriel comes to Mary and comes to his father Zechariah, that he from his conception has a great mission to bring a good news, to prepare the way of the Lord, to become a new Elijah, to preach with the fire and to announce a new coming era of God who delivers and who gives redemption. At the same time, John the Baptizer lived in the desert. John the Baptizer didn't pay much attention to his appearance. He was living in a very ascetic style of life. Even today in the Eastern churches, they call him the way of life lived by John the Baptizer as an angelic way of life. So sometimes in iconography you can see baptizer having wings, which are the wings of an angel. John the Baptizer was well known through Judea from his birth and until when he was baptizing in Jordan. Many people were coming to him from different parts of Judea, from Jerusalem. He was perceived as the great man, even by the Pharisees. But at the same time, he was a humble man, pure of heart. He understood that by pointing out to Jesus, the Messiah, he is fulfilling his great mission. He was not grabbing his authority. He was not he was not pride about what he's doing. He was not trying to push aside Jesus. How difficult today is to become well-known and renowned person and to know its own place, to be happy of what one is doing. So John the Baptizer understood and was happy what he was doing. He was comparing himself to the best man of the groom. Especially we follow it in the Gospel of St. John. He was meek of heart. He was simple. He was filled with the power of God. He was very kind, and he was telling the truth of God. And that's why many people were coming and asking him what we're supposed to do. And we find it on the pages of the Gospel. The tax collectors were coming to him. The righteous people were coming to him. The soldiers were coming to him because they relied that he will tell them the truth, because they knew that he is the man of God. These days, our Ukrainian Catholic Church is commemorating 30th anniversary since Ukrainian Catholic Church went from the underground. The Church reminds John the Baptizer very much, because during the time of the persecution for the truth of God, it was persecuted, it was chastised, it was deprived, but it was telling the truth. It was filled with the Holy Spirit. The 27th of June, we were celebrating the day of Blessed Mykola Chernetsky, a Redemptorist Bishop of Volhynia and Polesia, and other his converts and other new Ukrainian martyrs of the 20th century. They were the people of pure heart. They were people of truth. They were people of love. They were martyrs, the witnesses, and they were bringing the God's truth around and spreading it. We are very rich that we have the big plentitude of witnesses who lived 50, 60, 70 years ago, who died in 80s and 90s. Blessed Vasil Velichkovsky, a Redemptorist bishop who was tortured and poisoned, he was in this very church, probably the end of 80s, beginning of 90s, and he died in Winnipeg, Manitoba. So they were in our midst. They were witnessing and bringing a good news about God. They were paying with their health and life for the truth, not their truth, not using the power, using people to defend themselves, to brag about their truth, but they were telling the truth of God. So they were following the footsteps of our patron, John the Baptizer. They were pointing out not on their wounds and their suffering, but they always were pointing to the cross. They were pointing on to God, who is love, who is truth, and who is the way. Amen.